Now that we know how to solve our systems of equations by substitution, let's look at a different method called addition. So this time, instead of substituting into each equation, I'm going to add my equations. So here's our example. I'm going to run through the steps through this example. So step one is rewrite the equations, both of them, so that the x's and y's are on one side of the equal sign and so that they're stacked on top of each other. So right now you see my top equation up there is 8x minus 6y equals negative 20. So that bottom equation is written 7y equals 30 plus 16. I want to get the x and the y on the same side for both of my equations. I typically like to put them both on the left side with the x first and then the y, as long as they are on your variables are on the same side and your numbers are on the other side, and your x and y are on the same position of each equation. It doesn't matter which one you do. However, this is probably the easiest way, especially since this is the way I'm walking you through. So we already have the top equation the way we want it. So we need to rewrite that bottom equation how we want it. We want the x's first, y's equals the number. So I need to move my x over to that left side. Right now it's plus 16x, so let's move it over to minusing both sides. So now we got negative 16x plus 7y equals 30. That's it. This is my new equation. This is what I'm going to be using. It's written in the form that I wanted it. Step two is, this is where it gets a little tricky. If one variable eliminates easily whenever we're adding them together, then we go ahead and move to step 3 to add them together. If not, we're going to have to multiply by a number so that one of them will eliminate. Now, what do I mean by eliminate? I mean that I want one of my variables to go away. How do I make it go away whenever I'm adding? Well, they need to be the same number, and one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. So in this instance, on this example, that would work if we had that top equation 8x, and then the next equation it said minus 8x. Then that x would go away because they would be 8x minus 8x. It's not what we have here, and I picked this example so we would have to multiply. But some of your other examples, one of them will eliminate. But what we're basically trying to do is either take the x or the y. One of them they need to be the same number, and one needs to be negative and one needs to be positive. Okay, so let me show you in this example. Since we don't have that already, we have to create it. We have to make it happen, and I'll show you how we can do that. So, like I said, the numbers, one needs to be negative and one needs to be positive. So, since I can see easily that 2 times 8 is going to be 16 and it's going to be positive 16, when I'm looking at my numbers, negative 6 and 7, those really aren't going to multiply by some number easy to get those the same number and one negative, one positive. But when I look at the 8 and 16, I know that 2 times 8 is 16. So if I multiply this whole equation by 2, then that top number, instead of being 8, is going to be positive 16. So this is really important. Okay, you should probably write this down. You need to multiply every single term in your equation by this negative 2. You are not multiplying only the 8. So you are multiplying 2 times 8, 2 times negative 6, and 2 times negative 20. Okay, don't just stop at that first one. So then 2 times 8 is 16x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12y. 2 times negative 20 is negative 40. So that is now our new equation. Okay, let me repeat that. When you have to multiply one of your equations by a number, you have to multiply the whole equation. each individual term by that number. Okay, so now I can move on to step 3 and 4, can combine them, add your equations and solve for one of the variables. So, and then step 4 will solve for the variables. So we've got negative 16 plus 7y equals 30, and we've got 16x minus 12y equals negative 40. So now I'm going to add them. So that means that I'm going to add the negative 16 plus 16. Guys, we've been doing this. We've been adding our equations. We're just doing it in a different format this way, okay? So negative 16x plus 16x goes away. There is nothing. 7y minus 12y gives me negative 5y. And then on the other side, you got to do everything. 30 minus 40 gives me negative 10. So you're just basically combining like terms. We got negative 16x plus 16, then we combine our x's, and then we combine our numbers. Combining like terms, we're just doing it in a stacked way for it to see easily. Another point, if you end up here with an x and a y, we've done something wrong and we need to go back to step number 2. So now I can solve for y. So I divide both sides by negative 5, y equals 2. Now I'm going to plug that in. I plugged it into the second equation. You could have plugged it into the third equation. The first equation. Doesn't matter, up to you. So 7 times 2 is 14. So 14 equals 30 plus 16x. Let's solve for x by getting it by itself. Subtract both sides by 30. Negative 16 equals 16x. Divide both sides by 16. Negative 16 divided by 16 is negative 1. So negative 1 equals x, or x equals negative 1. I ran through that real fast. Y'all know how to solve for variables. Okay, just getting it by itself. So now that I've done that, what's the last and final? Always, let's check our answer. Okay. So we've got y equals 2, x equals negative 1, and now I'm going to plug that in to that other equation that I didn't use. We got 8 times negative 1 minus 6 times 2 equals negative 20. So if that left side equals negative 20, we're good to go. Negative 8 minus 12, that equals negative 20. So this is our answer. Oh, I didn't put on it. So our answer in coordinate form, negative 1, comma 2. X and then y. All right, let me know if you have any questions with this addition method.